Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Michael Delacourt, alias Mike the Microphone, here to bring you another dramatic reading. Now, I promised one a day, and as such, today is no different. Regardless of my emotional instability, I am going to read you a bomb-ass story. Today, Mr. Lord Skelzor sent me an email, and that email contained Part 2 of And Then They Did It. It is entitled, And Then They Did It, Part 2, Bloomberg Boogaloo. So here we go, Part 2, Bloomberg Boogaloo. It was a cold day at Sweet Apple Acres, and Applejack was in the barn fixing the plow when there was a knock at the barn door.
Wait for it.
It was her big brother, Big Macintosh.
And here we go.
And he had come to check on his sister.
Are you all right in here, sis? Is there anything I can help you with?
Applejack turned to her brother, Big Mac, and said,
No, thank you. I just finished up.
Applejack's brother, Big Mac, looked at the ground and kicked at the dirt half-heartedly. Big Mac, who was Applejack's brother, looked up and said, So do you want me to win, sis, the fuck out of you? And then they did it. A few weeks later, Applejack was called to Appaloosa to deliver her prized apple tree, Bloomberg, to her cousin Brayburn. Settling in for the long train ride to Appaloosa, she decided to check on her prize tree, which she had raised from a sapling, so she made her way discreetly to the rear car of the train. She immediately ran up to Bloomberg and embraced him. Bloomberg didn't care because he was a tree, and she spoke softly to him.
Bloomberg, I can't believe that I have to give you up. If it wasn't for my cousin Brayburn needing you so darn much, I would have kept you.
Suddenly there was a clack as the door behind her shut. It was Rarity, and she looked confused as fuck.
Are you talking to a tree?
She stammered. Applejack panicked like a deer caught in the flames as it was set alight by a drunk.
No, I wasn't talking to Bloomberg in his bed. Honest.
She managed to slur out while Rarity gave her an even more confused look. Rarity started complaining.
Why does the tree get a bed and not I? Why does the tree get a bed with you in it and not I?
Applejack panicked. If she didn't do something quickly, Rarity would complain for hours, and she might start to question why she always wore a hat even when indoors. So she blurted out,
Rarity, would you like a bed with me in it right now?
Rarity shot Applejack a dirty look, and then they did it. Bloomberg didn't care because he was a tree. It was a few days after Applejack and her friends had arrived in Appaloosa, and after a massive time-wasting jug-fuck with the Lobel tribe of barbarous skull-fucking natives, Applejack and her friends were relaxing in Appaloosa. Bloomberg didn't care because he was a tree. Applejack was in her room at the inn daydreaming of bark when her cousin Brayburn knocked at the door.
Cousin, are you busy?
He asked.
Not really.
Applejack sighed as Brayburn entered the room.
Cousin, it's been a long time since I've seen you, and I was wondering if you could, say your way to show me some of that old Apple family affection.
Brayburn asked. Applejack gave him a confused look. He realized she didn't understand and went on to clarify.
Would you fuck me sideways, cousin?
He asked in an excited tone. Applejack sighed and stood up.
Why didn't you just say so, you darn fool?
She said in a scolding tone, and then they did it, and Applejack was like,
Oh, yes, Bloomberg, God, yes!
Brayburn stopped.
Bloomberg!
He gasped with his mouth agape. Applejack was embarrassed, so she ran off. Bloomberg didn't care because he was a tree. Applejack was walking around in the orchard, deep in thought.
Why can't I just fuck my family like a normal filly? Why do I want to bang a tree so bad?
She kept questioning herself. She got mad at herself and finally made her choice.
Fuck this!
She yelled.
I'm gonna go to my one true love and take him!
She shouted in defiance. Bloomberg didn't care because he was a tree. It was the next day and there were no ponies in the orchard. Bloomberg was up to his usual tree shit like collecting sun and growing leaves and shit, when Applejack showed up out of fucking nowhere. Applejack had dressed up all sexy for Bloomberg because she wanted to do him, but Bloomberg didn't care because he was a tree. Applejack looked at Bloomberg all sexy and stuff and said,
Bloomberg, I've known you since you was a sapling and I've always loved you.
Applejack walked up to Bloomberg and then they did it, but Bloomberg did care because he was a fucking tree. So Applejack and Bloomberg eloped to Spain or some other shithole country, and Applejack gave birth to her own little orchard. Applejack and Bloomberg lived out their lives happily. Applejack's family and friends, however, could not comprehend what the fuck just happened and all agreed it was best to pretend that something much less embarrassing had happened to Applejack, like death by explosive diarrhea or something. The end. And there you have it, and then they did it, part 2. I'm gonna go take a shower now. So, if you're feeling generous, there's a donation link in the bottom. I could always use money. And I will see you all tomorrow.